Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Comics for All. Thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. Today it is Friday, February 20th, but over there where the Mac Brothers are, it is already February 21st because they're from Australia. So today on our Ink and Insight segment, we have the Mac Brothers. So Josh and Aaron, thank you for coming on the channel for your second time now. It's great to see you guys again.
Good to be back.
Good morning.
So how have you guys been? What have you been up to? How's the comics making life? How's the music life?
It's been busy.
It's a busy year.
The year has we're 2 months into the year and it feels like there's so much ahead. There's so much, like, we started like last month. We had a film premiere for Anna, which is, as you can see, the band, and then next thing you know, it was straight into the Kickstarter, and now we're almost at the end of the campaign, and then there's single launch and music, and there's a lot going on.
Love that, though. I mean, I feel like if your life isn't busy with the things that you enjoy doing, then what are you doing?
I think I actually like the idea of mowing the lawn today as an escape.
That's fair. So at this point in time, like you said, there's 9 days left in the Kickstarter campaign. How are you feeling at this point with 9 days left? Kind of how are you summarizing your feelings?
I guess personally, I'm already relieved. Like, we've hit the funding goal, and it means that because there's all this other stuff going on, like, we are able to also allocate attention to these other things too. But definitely, I mean, the final push, like, we still want to keep encouraging people to go and check it out and grab the stuff before they're gone, some of the exclusives.
Oh yeah, there's some really cool limited items which we'll get into here in a few minutes. So I know we got a couple of viewers on YouTube, it looks like. I did put the Kickstarter URL in the chat, so everybody out there, make sure to pull that up on your computer and device. So the last time we chatted, I know we got to talk about kind of what you guys have been reading. Has you guys got to read anything between the last time we talked that's kind of stuck with you in terms of comic-wise or book-wise?
Absolutely not.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. Still stuck on the last thing I was reading. Haven't been able to find time to get back to it.
I actually did manage to finish one graphic novel,
Nice.
which has taken me months. I'm not gonna lie. I picked it up in November last year when we attended this convention as guests, and I met this Aussie writer named Ryan K. Lindsay, and guy, and I picked up a book from him, a graphic novel, Everfrost. It was published by Black Mask, and it's not a very long book, but it still took me a few months to finish it. And I did know it was well written. He really has a great narrative voice.
Entitled was called Everfrost?
Everfrost, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Illustration.
So for viewers out there who haven't met you guys before, how do you introduce yourself as creators, and what is Cynation Comics?
I guess I like my favorite introduction. So we are the Mac Brothers of Cynation Comics. I guess the most illustrative way to put it forward. So we're both writers. He does the stories. I do the scripts. He's like dark brooding Batman, and I'm like fun, sexy Nightwing.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think it helps illustrate, and you can kind of, a lot of people get that vibe from interviews. What was the follow-up question? I got distracted by that. Oh yeah, that's pretty much it. Cynation Comics, we're a boutique comic company, and we've got 2 titles. Anna, which we came and spoke about last time, which is a collaboration with the band, and Gods Among Men, which is the less colorful, less action-packed, much more gritty, serious, realistic narco noir based on a true story.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to diving into that here in a few minutes. So with the campaign going on and, other projects, kind of what does your creative work week look like for both of you in the next month or two here?
So we've got multiple things happening at the moment. We've just got a single that's released today for the band.
Awesome.
Yep, it's got its music video, so there's promotions for all that. That's leading up to the album release while we are doing the Gods Among Men Kickstarter, wrapping it up. And then we've got a tour coming up in May.
Ooh, how many tour dates are we talking about?
I think
Start of May, like first May.
it's about 11 or 12 shows, most of it across Japan.
Excellent. Are you getting to do any really cool venues, or are they all pretty small, like homey venues?
They vary. Some are a bit larger, and some are
Nice.
like real underground club venues, which are fun.
Oh yeah, those are always really fun. The kind of the hole in the wall places, if you will.
Some places we're not returning to. We've played some like really hole in the wall places. One of them was in a train station.
Very
That was one
cool.
of this time around. I said, yeah, we're not going back to the train station.
It was eccentric, but like it's a fun memory. But there's some things you're like, nah.
Yeah, but the practicalities of doing something like that is, I'm sure, was quite a challenge.
Oh yeah, I mean like when you get inside, it's like an actual venue. It's just really bizarre because
It's just where the entrance is.
you have to go down this like subway steps,
Yeah.
and then it's sort of somewhere in between going out of street level and getting into the actual underground station. It was bizarre.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Cool
So now
concept.
we get to, of course. So now we get to delve in a little bit to the worlds of gods among men. So the main protagonist, Jason Lee, who is he? What's driving him, and what the heck is going on in issue 1? So we can kind of get people caught up to speed a little bit.
I always talk about this one. You want to try this one this time?
No, you do it better.
No. So Jason Lee is he's a father, he's a brother, he's a small business owner, and he's got this burger shop, which he's trying to figure out, a way to make it succeed based off, the business rule book, doing all the things that you're supposed to do, but it doesn't quite pan out. Everything he's been kind of told hasn't quite worked out, and then an opportunity presents itself for him to do things the illicit way. And issue 1 explores how he begins that journey, and in issue 2, which is also which is what this Kickstarter is all about, is really the beginning of that journey and him taking the first few steps, and things do start to escalate.
I think everybody at some point in their life, from watching films and all that, has thought to themselves, I wonder what it'd be like if I just went to sell drugs.
Right? I mean, it's come across in most people's minds, I think.
Right, like they kind of think about it, right? Even if you see it in the film, they're like, fuck, if I just did that, maybe everything's going to work out. And the book's not here to say whether it does or doesn't work out. It's just showing you, here's what actually happens.
100%. So true crime fans have been told that they need this book, kind of giving them podcasts and documentaries can't. In terms of like tone and kind of grittiness, can you kind of touch on that and what makes it stand out a little bit?
I think one big thing, that especially when we first released the first issue 2 years ago, there have been people who have kind of come to us sort of incognito outside of the public sphere. And some people you don't expect it, and they go, what? Like when I was younger, I used to kind of dabble in these worlds. And they were like, you guys just captured that spirit, that essence so well. And I think that's what's really cool about this book, is that it actually brings, it resonates with something inside of people, especially if they've had some form of prior or even current connection to that world. And it makes them, actually want to speak out and go like, subtly, behind the scenes, and go, that's actually, that you nailed that. That was really realistic.
The way these things are presented, what people are familiar with in films usually is, it's very dramatized, right? Like there's gunfights and violence and sex and everything's dialed up to it. But real life doesn't really go that way. There's a lot of, dull moments, and we realize that it doesn't mean that it's any less exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of my question on the back end of you guys, like especially once issue 1 was finished, when you actually get like the finished book, can you actually enjoy it, or do you still find yourselves kind of nitpicking kind of storytelling elements, or you're like, oh, I wish I could have tweaked that, or are you pretty happy with the end result?
We're pretty happy. I think we nitpicked in the process a lot.
I think
right.
was that thing was because prior to doing this, we never even envisioned it as a comic book. So from the first issue and then now to the second, by the time we put so much thought and scrutiny into the pre-process that by the time you get to the end result, you're like, yes, this is what we wanted.
Absolutely. So, and you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but in terms of balancing the gritty realism of the drug world with the more ethereal elements hinted at the description, is that something that you initially came up with the idea, or is that something that kind of has like developed over time as you've been working on it, or is that when like one of the initial concepts you're like, you know what, this is something we can work with?
Well, when we did issue one, we didn't begin doing it with any intention, like who is this for? We didn't have an audience in mind. We just decided
Right.
we're going to tell our way, even if it goes against your usual ideas on what would work or how you'd market a story. We didn't consider any of that. And when issue one did so well and the feedback was fantastic, we realized that okay, we just need to keep following that and listen to ourselves on how we want to tell it.
I think that sort of like ethereal nature element was something that there was a seed of it in the beginning. I think it all started with the name Gods Among Men, and
Yeah.
how that name came about as well was that there was something that Josh said where he said, know something that the masses don't. It's almost like being divine, and we're not trying to portray it like or the people in the underwater. Well, in a way, the people right involved in these worlds are kind of like gods, but not in that omnipotent way, but more so in that when you sort of know that there's this underlying layer to society, you can kind of see something for more than what it is. But
That's a
then the
great way
gods
to put
are
it, actually.
yeah, it's like if you knew a person who was just like a stand-up businessman going about their day, but you knew that on the weekends they like to get up to some pretty downright dirty things, then you suddenly kind of know this additional layer. And so that's what this is. It's really about sort of peeling back that outer layer.
Well, I'm really looking forward to diving in and getting copies at some point myself. So we can actually dive in a little bit into the Kickstarter itself, which I have pulled up on the screen for those who are with us. If you can chime in and tell us what exactly is offered here for readers for this campaign, issues 1 and 2, and kind of what different kind of rewards can people get?
So the good thing about coming in at this stage is that we've already got the first chapter, done and dusted. We also offer up the first issue of Anna as well. So if you want to say, if you're completely brand new, you're like, oh, let's go for the sampling plate and get, a bit of everything. But as with our other Kickstarters, we're always wanting to, reward people for coming in more. And so two things that we bring are there's a Virgin Holochrome edition, which is a real limited. It's a super shiny, super premium looking book, which we make very limited copies of. So right there's a single comic. There you go, the Virgin Holochrome. So it's just a gorgeous way, and I find like with, for example, this tier, you can read the standard edition and then you can preserve and frame up your holochrome, not to be touched by fingers if you want.
Yes.
The next level up from there, though, is what we offer in our hardcover edition, which
That's my favorite.
that is my favorite because I love that it's in an A4 dimension, and because it's bigger, I just find it much more I don't know, it's more engaging, to read. You can see the art in full scale and everything, and it does also come with a few additional pages, which
Nice.
this time we're putting in stuff that we didn't before. That's gonna we like to sort of transcend just the comic medium, to get people to engage with the story. So we're doing that again. And I'm being a bit cryptic with it, but
There's a lot of bonus content in the hardcover that's not available anywhere else, and we don't do them again. So anyone who does get it, you really get to see a lot more than your average reader.
That's great. I love hardcover editions and the fact that you guys are offering this. So this is definitely a great And really, for what you're getting here, this is a great price point as well, I can say.
Mhm.
So now we've got, like you said, 9 days left. Is there kind of a sweet spot, kind of not super top tier, but is there more of a lower tier for people, like you said, just coming in? There's the single comic for right here. And if you just want to touch on kind of on those ends too.
So the single comic would generally be for people who, let's say, like, we call it like our entry level tier. If
Mm-hmm.
you probably in this case would be somebody who's read the first book or maybe even GAN 1 and also Anna 1, and they're like, I just want to continue along with the story. By all means, you can jump in and just grab the next book. The next level up from there would be people who maybe have gotten onto Anna, but then they haven't dipped their toe in the world of Gods Among Men, and they
Right.
can get the double, which basically just it's story up until now. And the Cynation triple is the ultimate tasting plate where you can get all of our current titles, and that one we made extra special, and it's limited too because that's not just the Anna Standard Edition. That is one of the last few copies of our Japan Tour Edition, which for Anna, we make these limited editions when we go on tour. So that was from last year, and now it's like eight copies left up for
How many
grabs.
did we make?
Wow.
We made
Yeah, that
Hundreds.
Japanese cover is really striking, even just this small image. So I imagine when you actually see the artwork, it really pops.
it's very colorful, and I think on a creative side, it's fun that with Anna we get to sort of let our freak flag fly, and like there's cats, there's action, there's powers, and Gods Among Men. Yeah, it's like really nuanced and really grounded. So I think it's exciting for us to be able to jump back and forth between the two.
And it's something else too that just popped in my head too. If you guys want to touch on, since you guys are the kind of the creative founders of your own imprint, what's that kind of that ultimate freedom and sense of like artistic expression, kind of like you just said? I feel like that's really got to be a really freeing and ultimately a really cool thing to have to say. I can create this, and I have no one above me saying no, you can't do that.
Well, that was one thing with Gods Among Men in particular, because I remember in the very early days, even just trying to find an artist for the project, when I would sit and meet with a couple of people and tell them basically what the book's about and what some of the scenes will entail. There were a couple of times when they'd be like, "Ooh, that's a bit contentious, or that's a bit controversial. Like that's I don't know if I want to draw that." So when we finally found Ben Sullivan, it was a match made in heaven, and that's why he's our guy. He's our guy for everything.
I was going to say, if you want to touch on kind of the creative team and how Ben's contributions have kind of expanded on your guys' scripts and how that collaborative process has been working with Ben.
Well, Ben and us, I think we kind of grew together, over issue 1. Issue 1 probably, took longer for us to try to
Find rhythm.
Yeah, find how we're gonna do it. A lot of things we do in Gods Among Men are not typical of comic books in terms of the scenes are framed, the page layouts, and that's because we didn't look at it as a comic book. We always looked at it as a film. And sometimes there were challenging things where I told Ben, I want all these things, and you got to put it on one page. We need to tell. So we would find that's the challenge. Ben would have to go back to the drawing board and come up with very creative angles. How do I show this entire room with all this detail with one page? And that's where it got creative in terms of the pages that you're looking at here. We wanted to give a snapshot of a suburb in Melbourne, and we just found all the iconic buildings and landmarks, and he would find ways on how to put it together to make it look like a great artwork, which I think that was an original art piece that's already sold.
Yeah, it's on the Kickstarter.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
That's something I think to kind of leapfrog off Josh's point about doing things unconventionally was that because it is based on a true story, you have the responsibility of doing it justice, but you also have the luxury of like Josh would take from issue 1, he would take Ben and I out on these excursions to these places, the actual physical places in the story, and then regale us with the tales. And I think that's something that it's almost like like a method actor, right? Like because Ben's putting the expression, he's putting the emotion in the art of the page, and there is something intangible about being told these stories in the place, the the feeling that you get, which when he then did the art after that, we went, oh yeah, that there is a difference. There is a definite difference.
And I'm sure on the artistic side too, for Ben, he ultimately really enjoys having that artistic expression and the ability to kind of interpret scenes with you guys in tandem. And that I'm sure is a really cool synergy to have.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's fun. I think we get excited, with Gods Among Men. There's a lot of this imagery, like one of the very first page we worked on was page 7, and that basically depicted sort of the illicit side of society as this ethereal, like ghosts and spirits, sort of lurking in the background, and that really kind of set the tone for us. So we kind of start to, bring that pattern back every now and then, and kind of display it. For example, in this, like there's this mural-esque, the fracturing of the shattered dreams almost.
Yeah, I really like this particular panel. I like it, like you mentioned, the kind of the unconventional layout of particular things. And you touched on it a second ago. You talked about taking the team on excursions to real locations in the book. In the one we just passed, is there another example of a spot that made it into the comic, kind of very similar or almost verbatim as it is in real life?
Pretty much all of them. Yeah.
All physical locations you can see in the book are actually places you could visit.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So I mean, at some point,
some of them have changed owners, and they aren't what they used to be. But essentially, the buildings themselves are still there.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Yeah. And another good question: is there a specific page or sequence, kind of in issue 2 now that you're in issue 2, that you look at particular page or a sequence or action sequence, you're like, wow, we're doing some really cool, good work here. This is really good stuff.
The descending stairs?
Yeah, the descending page 20 towards the tail end.
Is that there or?
No, we've got that here.
Can we show that?
Yeah, we can show that. The descending stairs.
Is that sold?
Yeah, that one's sold too.
Okay, so
this is
sold.
So we do make the original art available in the tiers of the Kickstarter. There were 6 available, and now there's only 1. This one has been framed. I guess we can call it the Dissension of Jason Lee. Mm-hmm. I love this page for multiple reasons.
This was a Ben idea, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes. This was an idea that, we came together and we said, look, we want to find a way to visualize the dissension, right? Because this character is gradually, oh yeah, there you go. There's
man,
that page. Gotta love original art. You can hold it. You can actually see all the little like subtleties that Ben does with the art, where he comes in even with a razor blade, and so the art has an almost 3D-esque quality to it.
Oh, cool.
So, just to talk about original art for a second, this time around we actually made a few more available, because after the last round they actually turned out to be really popular. So I think we made 6 available.
6 available.
5 are sold out, and there's 1 left, which is this one.
Dang. Okay. I know there's a lot of original art collectors out there, so.
Yeah.
And I've been told it's up at quite a reasonable price, so something to float out into the world.
Last one left. If anybody wants to jump on and grab it.
Of course. And this is kind of another question about working together with Ben again, but you're stuck with kind of a core team through the first 2 issues here. Kind of what's the advantages of that continuity for a story kind of this intense and this tones especially?
I personally feel like it's the whole thing of we rather get it right from the beginning, and then that way when you get to the end product, you're not looking back and going, oh, I wish we didn't do that. We did agonize our process of trying to get our core team. So by the time we found that synergy in GAM 1, then going into Anna 1 and now GAM 2, like it, I think it's irreplaceable. I think sometimes when you shake things up, it can be disruptive.
Yes.
I don't think we would have started if we didn't have this team. That was we wouldn't go ahead with it until we had the right team, because it's very hard. We had a hard time actually finding an artist who understood what we were trying to do.
Yeah, I'm sure that's half the battle, really, is finding someone that can collaboratively see your vision, even without seeing the vision, and then actually working together on finding ways for that actually comes together and it's agreed upon artistic, expression. I feel like that's more challenging than people realize.
Absolutely. And Ben, apart from being a great artist, he's really humble as well, because I remember when we first started working with him on issue 1, and there was one page where he did the first sketch and he said, any edits? And I went, you need to scrap this whole page, dude. Not it at all. And there was no pushback. It was he took it really well. Some people can get offended by something like that,
but Ben's got a really inquisitive mind as well.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what's important to us too, was that the story fascinated him, and he wanted to do justice to the story as well. And as a result, he's constantly like, right, open to questions, open to feedback, open to discourse, and we're always sort of doing. That's always been our process from day one.
That happens less now. Like
it's pretty smooth now.
Yeah,
it's
now
amazing.
It's smooth,
yeah.
I bet.
It's a bit tough. Yeah, there were times when we were like, not this page at all.
So on the back end of this particular campaign, when do you expect backers to receive the physical comics soon? How soon after the campaign ends?
Well, so one thing that we've always prided ourselves on is we, from the get-go, we always wanted to get books out to people as soon as possible. So pretty much, like it just pains me, like, when I back Kickstarters and I'm waiting like over 6 months for my book, and I'm like, I would like it sooner, So
yeah, I have one Kickstarter. I'm waiting on almost 2 years now, and the comic is still not finished. Yeah.
Look, that to me as a customer, I find borderline unacceptable. And so when I then put myself in the other seat as the producer, it's like, no, we're not gonna do anything like that. Our track record so far is people have waited no longer than 3 months for their books to arrive, even international. And the last time, actually, the only reason why it took a little bit longer was because the Kickstarter finished. We had to come back from our Japan tour because we were literally going off to Japan a week or so after. But this time we've stated that approximately April. I'm going to say late April, because we do have to shoot off in May for our next tour. But that's what we're going to endeavor to do and keep our timely fulfillment track record.
Perfect. So my next question is kind of a status, I guess, a status question of, Gods Among Men. What's plans for issue 3, and is there even plans for beyond issue 3?
There's definitely plans for beyond issue 3.
Excellent.
It's Gods Among Men, as opposed to, I think, because Anna is largely a fictional story, it's a lot easier to sort of map out, right, issue 3, 4, 5, and this is going to be volume 1. Gods Among Men works a bit differently. We know roughly where volume 1 will end, but in terms of the specifics, I've actually found that our process works better when we sit down and map things out once we get to that issue rather than ahead. But I mean, based off the past 2 issues, things have just seemed to fall into place. So I'm pretty. I used to not be okay with not knowing and not planning.
I heard.
I've found order in the chaos now.
That sounds like a good song title if you guys don't have that as a song title.
Order in the chaos.
My next question is kind of on the back end of things too. Do you guys, how do you handle a creative setback? Say, something doesn't go well, you have writer's block, creator's block, or, you get a shipment of damaged books. How do you handle when negative things happen kind of in your, especially being the co-creators and co-owners of an imprint, especially?
Nothing that bad has happened. We don't get writer's block. I think we have more of
time block.
Yeah,
time block.
Big block.
Because we just keep going back and forth, right? We do one issue of Gods Among Men, and then as the Kickstarter's going, we're already about a quarter of the way through production for Anna 2, which will follow up a few months after. So we go back and forth. We've always got something to keep us busy. So
I think also having these, for one, it's the focusing on just the 2 titles, but also that jump keeps it interesting, because I feel like if we just worked on Anna, it'd be all fun and games. But, sometimes you lose a bit of the levity, and if we just worked on Gods Among Men, it'd be pretty depressing.
That's fair, yeah, because they're totally different tone-wise.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a great point.
Problems. What we tend to do is we try to preempt. You can normally see signs of something going wrong before it goes wrong.
Yep.
For example, on the last Anna campaign, the foil printer that we had used for Gods Among Men had stopped doing foils.
Oh no.
Yeah, but we only found that out later on. It started to present itself as a problem midway through the campaign when we noticed they weren't.
Well, we found another printer that was based in Australia, which initially was going to be the fix to the problem. But like Josh said, right, we did start noticing signs of, I think this might go wrong. So, it then becomes a juggle of like, all right, can we find a resolution to this problem that is not gonna, majorly detriment us, and definitely not going to compromise, like delivering the goods out to people and delivering the quality of the goods out to people.
So yeah, we fix the problems before anyone finds out about it.
And that's why good planning is important.
Good planning, and I think the ability to adapt is also, it's something that's hard to teach.
Yeah, it is. I feel like that's a great point actually as well. So this is a good question for you guys. So for the people who have read issue 1 already, what has been the reader feedback been like, and kind of any experiences so far in that feedback that either took you by surprise or like, or I didn't think about the story from that perspective?
I will say there's almost 2 kinds of feedback in terms of, like, from 2 types of readers. People who tend not to have had this kind of experience in this world, they feel like there's something really intangible, intangibly grounded, that it's got a sense of place, and like the characters are so sort of realistic and well developed, because they are, as we do state in the book, like they are based on real people. A lot of them identities, actual names have been changed, but it's got something that a lot of, crime genre books might lack, in that crime genre books sometimes often adhere to like character tropes and archetypes, but this just really follows the way of reality. And I would say the other type of feedback would be people who have experienced this kind of world, and they were like, guys, it's so realistic.
There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like that's actually an underappreciated note, that a lot of stories may have, uncomfortable truths, or like you said, where the underbelly of society has things that people may not want to see or don't want to touch or smell or hear.
But I think that's the benefit of the comic medium too, is that the people who would otherwise not engage with any of these activities or even like these stories, suddenly through the, with the illustration, as opposed to seeing, let's say, a live action film or even a docuseries, it allows people to kind of view it through this safer window. So one of the things we say
less
is
confronting. Yeah.
Less confronting. We say
there you go.
All the realism, none of the risk. And I think in that sense that, there was one guy who was sort of like a more intellectual sort of comic reader. And I don't think he's had any experience in this world, but he read it. And they're fascinated. It becomes like, I get to peer into this other world, but from this, from the safety of this book.
Excellent. That's a great way to put it too. So for you guys coming up here in the next couple of months, appearances in terms of being on tour and or comic appearances.
It's funny because we've got a less conventional approach that we actually make very few comic appearances. It definitely tends to be more. I think especially once we started taking comic books to concerts, and we were like, oh well, nobody else is really doing that, so we're like, let's lean into
I
it.
know.
So I guess for other than the Asian tour, there's one one event that's coming up, but I don't know if I can talk about that.
What's that?
The Sydney.
Oh, it's not really a comic related thing.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
It is and it isn't. Yeah. But no, I look. Generally, that's where we love Kickstarter. It gives us the opportunity to sort of put it out into the world. Like, look, we've got a new release, and beyond that, our stuff's available online. And then, if you can catch us at, if you're local and you catch us at shows, or in Asia, you can catch us on the tour. But otherwise, our stuff's pretty much always available, except for the exclusive items, which are just Kickstarter exclusive.
That's right. And that's why there's another reason to get on the Kickstarter. And we've touched on this a little bit, but in terms of what you can talk about, what else do you have in terms of projects for the rest of this year in the works?
Anna 2.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's kind of cool now that I think, especially from year one, we were still figuring a lot of stuff out, and now we're starting to really find our rhythm about balancing between multiple projects. So being able to be already working on Anna 2 whilst we're running the GAM Kickstarter, it feels like the train is starting to move at a nice steady pace. And, 2 projects out this year. I'm really excited for that.
Do you have a tentative month for the Anna 2?
Let me say it.
About August.
About August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have to get you guys on for that one too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll get Anna on too.
Yeah, because this year's pretty big on top of the tour, and so like obviously the first single came out, and the single is called Hate Me, and it is part of the debut album for the band, which is called
Nice.
Motivated. And that's going to be coming out in late May. So between the music and the comics, it's the wheels are turning. The wheels are turning hard.
Absolutely. And just like the ultimate like artistic expression, creating music and making comics. It's like I freaking love it, guys.
Absolutely. I mean, late last year, that everything that was culminating with the documentary, the film premiere in January.
Mm-hmm.
4 months prior to that, amidst the comic, amidst the music, it was like sitting behind the computer in the editing room, just doing video editing, just cutting this whole documentary together. So it was a super exciting event, but I'm also relieved that that's over, and I'm like, okay, the next thing. But then we're going to be filming part 2 for that too. So,
well, that's good. The Kickstarters really help us out, meeting funding is great, but the better that the Kickstarters do, the more time it allows us to put into the next thing.
Right.
The faster we can bring it to, readers and the fans.
That's right, because people definitely want to read comics. They want their stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Like, that's why the productions increased from last year to this year, and we'd like to do it even faster and bring even more.
Yeah, that's right. You always want to sell more of your own comics. So, guys, the Mak Brothers, where can people out there find you online and follow along with what you're doing?
I'd definitely say Instagram's the best for us, but Instagram and Facebook. So we're on there now as Cynation Studios.
Okay.
Simply because when we did the film, we're like, we need to do something more encompassing. But Cynation Comics is like the imprint of Cynation Studios. So
That's fair.
Anything related, we go on there. You can also find us at Anna.bandofficial. And that's where you're going to see all the music stuff, and especially when Anna 2 starts going in towards the Kickstarter stage, you're going to hear more about that.
Yep, and you'll hear more about it on here.
Yep, absolutely. And I think other than that, we're pretty much on all the other platforms. So whatever you use, just look up Cynation Comics or Studios and Anna Band.
Excellent. My last question before we head out, and I've asked you this, guys, once before, but I'll ask it again. What's your favorite snack or meal as a go-to when you need to power yourself through a couple hours?
Well, you're always snacking anyway.
I'm trying to. I think I do recall the answer I gave last time, and I'm trying to think of a new answer.
I think I gave the same answer. if I'm powering through something I don't eat,
Yep.
I'll eat after.
That's your reward at the end, is eating afterwards.
Kind of, yeah.
I would say his snack. It's more of like it's sugar-free Red Bulls.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Is that a snack?
I guess it counts. It's the closest thing. But I do like Red Bull when I have to wake up early, but I'm gonna have to give it to a nice Americano, which in Australia we call long black, which I
Long
think
black.
we're
Okay.
yeah, like a monster-sized mug of it, and nothing else.
Well, this is just a random coffee question, but is there actually coffee grown in Australia?
No.
I don't think so. I think
No?
we love it, especially in Melbourne. Like we've got a huge coffee culture here.
Love
But
that.
no, we don't grow any. No.
Somehow they've got some of the best coffee, but we don't grow it.
Yeah.
They're just really good at brewing.
Doing stuff with it, yeah.
Exactly.
Just
That's
touch it.
fair. Well, takes us to the end of our conversation. Josh and Aaron, any last thoughts you'd like to share to viewers out there before we head out?
I guess like one thing, and we actually just put a reel out for this today, and we've gotten this question before about why don't you guys do a digital edition in your Kickstarter? And the thing is, like one thing to me is that I feel like nowadays a lot of the way we consume a lot of media is primarily digital, and that's the way the world is. But especially for something like comics, and even you look at the book market, and I think the market has shown that there's something intangible. Something tangible creates a certain feeling inside people. Being able to actually own a piece of the story and to hold it, the experience is different. And I think that's why as hard as it has been, I think we've kind of stuck to our guns on this with the boutique comic angle. That we always prioritize physical, and that way we can give so much attention and care to the quality. From the entry level to the holochrome edition to the hardcover edition, and I think that's what you get coming into Cynation Comics, is that you get it timely and you'll get it luxurious and beautiful.
I was going to say I'm looking forward to the quality of the book, even just in images, looks like it's a well-made book.
Oh, the first time we saw it in print, I was over the moon.
I bet. All right, guys. Well, this is the end of our conversation for today. So thank you again, taking some time out of your schedules. I know it's busy for both of you again, but we'd love to have you on for Anna too. And everybody out there, this has been Comics for All. So thank you for joining us. Take care.
See ya.